Okay.
Well, right there. Sorry. Scott, talk to me about how you're feeling. CBS debut. Let's address that first. How do you think things went? What does this mean for Bellator? Should we expect more?
Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of CBS executives here. I think they love the show. It's honestly surprising how many first-time fans or first time they've come to a live event. I think they all had an amazing experience. So I think we gained a lot of fans here, and we'll remain cautiously optimistic for some good ratings and see how it goes.
What were your thoughts on the main event?
Yeah, I mean, listen. When I think about Fedor and his accomplishments, and I was telling this to Josh and Randy and Dan and all the guys that were in the cage, I said, you guys have already done it all. Fedor has already done it all. He didn't need to fight. He doesn't need to do anything, right? So anytime he fights another fight, I think for the last 3-4 years, it's really been a special occasion. It's an event. You could feel it, right? When he fights, it's an event, right? But he doesn't need to prove himself. He's already done. To me, he's the greatest heavyweight of all time. Would I have liked to see him and Randy fight before? Sure. Him and Josh, of course. But if you look at the string of fights that he had in Pride during his heyday run, it was just incredible. I went back and I watched it. It was him and Nogueira and him and Krokop, him and Randleman, him and Hunt, him and just fighter after fighter that was just a killer. So he's already done it all, and to me, he has nothing to prove. He's the legend. And I was telling him when he left, I said it's such an honor for me to promote you, because not just because of how he fights and his popularity, but really just how he carries himself, right? And to me, he's a true martial artist, and I'll always be a Fedor fan.
Would you say he's the greatest heavyweight of all time?
Absolutely. You can't compare anybody else's body of work to what he's done over the last 18 years or so. There's moments in time and there's spurts of runs, but nobody's has had a run like that. So in my opinion, he fought the best fighters in the world that were fighting in Japan at that time. They weren't fighting here. The best fighters in the world, if you guys remember back in the Pride days, were all fighting in Japan. And he went through them all. He did not duck anybody. Sakibara asked him to fight. Anybody we asked him to fight, he's always said yes. He's always accepted the challenge. So he's a real true champion, and to me, he's the GOAT.
And last one for me, your middleweight champion, Johnny Eblen. What'd you think of his performance and where he stands in the world right now at 185 pounds?
I mean, I think he's the best light heavyweight in the planet, and that guy is so talented. I think you're just seeing the beginning of this kid. And when he fought Gegard, I said, "Wow, he got my attention." And then tonight he got my attention because his opponent was no joke. That guy is tough, and he just kept grinding him and just working him, and he broke him down basically to a guy that I really didn't think to break him down was possible. So hats off to Johnny Eblen, man. He's going to do a lot of great things in the sport.
Hey, Scott, do you have a favorite Fedor fight?
I'll tell you, I went back. I have several moments in the Fedor fights that were great fights. I mean, when I think about the Randleman fight, when he got dumped, I was like, oh my God, I thought like he died. Like he fell right on his neck, and then he got up like nothing and just, and took him down and did what he had to do. But so I think if you look at some of his one-punch knockouts, the Arlovsky fight, looked like he just swatted Andre right out of the air, And for the longest time, when I was working for K1 and I had the opportunity to go see these fights live in Japan, and I started calling him the sharpshooter because the guy is so fast, so explosive, through so many great combinations back in the day. And, I think those are my two moments of Fedor fight. The Nogueira fight was a great fight. Krokop was a great fight. And to me, Krokop was something interesting because, Mirko was known as a much better striker, and he was a K1, runner-up and just this beast from Croatia. And a lot of people thought he was going to take it to Fedor, and Fedor just marched him down and started doing his thing. It was a great fight, but to me, that's when I said, oh, wow, this guy is super talented. So when I think about how well-rounded he is, it's pretty amazing.
You've kind of already alluded to it, but like when Fedor enters a room, when he's around, there's a different aura, there's a different energy.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think that is?
You know, that's something you can't put your finger on it. It's like some athletes have it and some people don't. Some are great fighters, some have great charisma, some do both, right? And he is this guy. I'm telling you, I've been with him in Japan, I've been with him in Europe, I've been with him in Russia, been with him in Santa Monica here. The guy still garnishes that type of attention. You know, people are like, oh my God, that's Fedor, and then freaking out. And we had people flying from all over the world. We had ticket orders from the Middle East, from Japan, from Europe, South America to come watch his fight. And being that his last fight, they wanted to see it in person. And it was it wasn't a great fight, but it was a great event. And he's retired now, so I think he should be retired and be Fedor.
My final question is, Brandon Ward has been calling for a Dalton Rasta fight. Dalton Rasta said he accepts. It is up a division, but is that a fight that you would entertain?
I'll tell you, I watched the Ward fight, and I thought he did a great job. I didn't think Brandon could kick to the head that high. But, he's a great puncher and great wrestler. I'd say let's go back and meet with my fight team and then reshuffle the deck and see what we come out with. But, I'm so happy for him on a personal level because about a year and a half ago when he wanted to come back, he was going through a lot of turmoil in his life. And, a lot of people turned their back on him. And he and I sat down up in the stands at the Mohegan Sun in one of the fights. We just had a heart-to-heart conversation, and I said, look, you gotta keep it together, and he has, and this is very important to him, and you could tell how hard he trained for this fight. I mean, he was in great shape. So he's doing his part now, and I wanted to keep on that path, and I think if he does, good things will happen for him.
Hey, Scott. Mm-hmm. Kay Williams for Can Chronicles Media. 2022, it was an exceptional year for the Bellator promotion. What are some of your early projections in terms of success and fights moving forward for the year 2023?
I agree with you. 2022 was, I think, victory after victory after victory. We had an amazing bantamweight tournament that's going to end here. We'll probably have something to announce in another week or so. And just the fights and the quality of fights, and really it's a testament to the roster. If you think about how long we've been building this roster, it's been a good 5 years now that we've started putting together the talent that we have today. And it's been a lot of fun, honestly, to sit down with the fight team and put these matches together because, these guys are at such an elite level of fighting in mixed martial arts. It's impressive to watch. But when you think about 23, come on, does it get any better than starting out 23 with Fedor's retirement fight and being live on CBS? I mean, I think that Johnny Eblen became a star tonight, and so did Brandon Ward. He could get some more shine on his light, and let's see what happens in the future. But to starting off with this fight, it was very special, and we have a big fight in Ireland with Amosov, who's coming off the war. The Ukrainian fighter that was fighting in the war. And if you guys haven't seen that story, it's very, very emotional, man. The stuff that he's gone through, the stuff that he's seen. When you start seeing the feature pieces of the real-time situation that he was fighting over there, it's very, very enlightening. And we're just very special, to have him back and be fighting. And he brought his wife and his child, and now he's living in America now. So he's going to have I think a great career. He's fighting at Logan Storley. Gegard's coming back March 10th. I mean, honestly, this lightweight tournament, I'm so excited. I think this is the toughest lightweight tournament in the history of mixed martial arts. And, we're going to let those guys all get it on. And when I look at that gauntlet of athletes that we had up on the stage yesterday or at the press conference, I think there's a couple dark horses that might take this tournament, that maybe not be shining out right now. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. So I think it's a great way to start the year, and, we're going to do some great fights this year.
Scott, here. Other side.
Oh, sorry.
A few days ago, you said that Anderson Silva was offered to fight Fedor, and since it's such a special occasion, let's fight Fedor's fight. How many options did you have? How close was the deal with Anderson to get done? And was Bader the second option? Do you have another option like Verdun? I don't know. How was the negotiation?
Yeah, I'll tell you. we basically talked to Ed Suarez and said, look, we would think this would be an amazing fight. The two GOATs of MMA fighting in the last fight in MMA. And he came back a couple days after and said, you know, he's not interested. He wants to pursue his boxing now, and MMA is very hard on his body. So that was the reason. We said, okay, we moved on, and that was it. There was not any back and forth negotiation. It wasn't anything like that. So it was a moment in time. We had a quick conversation. It didn't work out, and then when I talked to Fedor, he didn't know I was talking to Anderson. He didn't know anything at that time. But every time I talked to Fedor, he just said, I want to fight Ryan Bader, and I want to fight for the belt. And Fedor's been on a run, so it was hard to keep saying, well, you know, Fedor, maybe you should fight somebody else. And he was very adamant about fighting. And after all, you know, after everything he's done for the sport, I felt like he deserved it, so we put it together.
Perfect. Last one for me. Tonight, you were just saying about CBS, but at the same night, you guys just did start the partnership with Combate in Brazil, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would like to ask you about that. First of all, what's the Bellator plans for Brazil? Since now you guys are on Combate, are you planning to bring a Bellator to Brazil this year? Is there any kind of special thing for Brazilian fans?
Yeah, I tell you what, I'm very excited because, to be honest and transparent, we were going to go there before COVID hit. And we had plans to go there in 21. And then when COVID hit in 20, and maybe even end of 20, we were going to go to Brazil because we feel like that's a great market for MMA, obviously, so many great fighters. And we have so many great champions that are Brazilian. And I think they really appreciate the sport and they understand the sport. So we were going to go there. And then COVID hit, everything got shut down. We're doing fights in a closed environment. And then we basically rebooted to start doing live fights. It's only been about a year. If you think about it, it's only been about a year since we rebooted, you know, doing live events. And everywhere we go, I think our attendance is growing. I think we're, you know, breaking attendance records in different places for Bellator. And, you know, Combate was something that was important because we do want to go to Brazil. We do want to fight. Is it going to happen this year? I'm not sure. It's something that we're definitely in dialogue, but I think Combate will be a great partner for us, and I think we have a lot of goals that are similar, and I think our goals are aligned. And we're not just looking for a TV partner. We're looking for a complete media partnership, and I think they're going to be a very good partner for us.
Scott, back here. One quick one for me. So you spoke about the roster. You guys brought Brennan Ward back. How do you guys go about canvassing fighters and bringing new talent to Bellator?
You know, this is something that I think we're really good at. And if you look back at even when I was when I founded Strikeforce, we basically went to all the different managers, all the different gyms, all the different, you know, wrestling programs and judo programs, and started talking to all the different talent managers. And we started, you know, meeting people and finding what we felt was a good fit. And sometimes if you're a great fighter, that's not enough. Sometimes you need to have a little bit more than just being a great fighter. And what I mean by that is, one thing I learned in Japan was there's always that X factor. You know, what is a fighter bringing more to the table than just great fighters? Because it takes a lot of years to build a great fighter to become a great champion, right? So we started a program where we were building from the ground up, and we started buying free agents from the top down. And that's exactly what we did here at Bellator. And if you look at some of the first acquisitions as a free agent here, we went after Ryan Bader, Gegard Mousasi, Cyborg, Fedor. I mean, it's, you know, it's some pieces I felt were a good fit, but then we signed Aaron Pico, we signed AJ McKee, we signed Rafian Stotts, we signed guys that we felt like, look, let's put an investment in these athletes and build them for the next 10 fights. Maybe it takes 3.5 years, but to build an athlete from ground zero to be a fighter that can fight in your top 5 or top 10 even, it's going to take at least 3 years because it's just going to take time because they're just, you know, you get 3 fights a year times 3 years, you're at 9 fights. And then after they get their 10th fight, we kind of just, okay, you got to start fighting anybody.
Scott to your left here. Did you get to the $1 million gate you were hoping for? Did Fedor
I think we're a little short, but I'm happy with where we ended up. So I think we're in the mid 8s, and you know, it's that's a big accomplishment. I feel very good about it. I think we had a great crowd, passionate crowd, and you know, I think it was a little bit late arriving because most people are used to going to fights a little later. in the evening on a Saturday night. It starts at 7. We had to start at 6 because that was a CBS time slot. But I was telling my friends, I said, wait till Fedor walks out. This place is going to erupt. And it was like, when those two guys were about to face off, it was like you could drop a pin in the building, man. It was really, really amazing.
I'm asking because I'm wondering how valuable Fedor was financially in mixed martial arts. Like, there's a lot of big money fighters, but what did he mean financially for the events you promoted, and a lot bigger picture? Where does he fit into the most important, like where you could build events around him and the public came and really embraced him? How unique was he in that way?
I mean, listen, there's fighters and then there's superstars, and Fedor is a superstar. This guy is somebody that could go, like I said, on any continent, and he's going to be recognized. He just has this charisma about him. His fighting style, he never ducked anybody, and either he was knocking you out or you were knocking. Somebody was going to get knocked out, and people really appreciate that. That he's not going to just lay on you for 4 or 5 rounds and play that game. He is going to advance his position to take you out or submit you and to win. And the speed and intensity and the fluidness as a heavyweight, so impressive. And you know what, Josh? Honestly, I'll be honest with you. It's like when I was in Strikeforce, and he had multiple offers, including he could have went to the UFC, right? He could have went back to Pride or wherever he was talking in Japan. He could have came to me. He had different offers that were very lucrative, and he gave me a chance. And really, I think that's what took Strikeforce to the next level, right? Is when he came on board, because he elevates your whole brand, right? Now you're a company that was a Bay Area company that started with an HDNet deal, and now you have Fedor Emelianenko on your roster. Now you have an international spotlight on you, and he did a lot for us. And I believe that him coming on board eventually got us the relationship with CBS and Showtime back in the Strikeforce days, and he's been fighting and doing his thing ever since. So I'm really thankful to him. I think he gave me a great opportunity when he didn't have to, and he's been very loyal. And I've been very loyal to him, and we have a great relationship. And listen, Fedor's it's not like he's not going to be around. I mean, we're going to probably work something out with him as a brand ambassadorship and have him be around, because I just really like his Bushido spirit, his martial arts, spirit is very strong, man. And I just love it.
Lastly, from me, he spoke about that, and he wanted people, if they were going to remember him, to be a sportsman who didn't talk trash. They cared about him because he competed and won. Is there a lesson in there for you? And should fighters listen to that, or should because he was like, the trash talk, MMA has too much of that. Is he right? Is he wrong? Where does
I don't think there's any right or wrong. I mean, it was definitely right for him, and to me, it worked, because look what he's accomplished his whole career. He wants to go take care of business, and he did it very well. To me, better than everybody else in the heavyweight division. So, he had a special career, special athlete, and I just really, like I said, I'm really proud to be involved with him and promote with him for the last last 12 years. I've been promoting with him in and out. So it's been a good run, man. And in there, I was looking at Rampage and all the guys, and that tribute to him. I'm so happy we put that together, because those are the guys. And Josh, you were around back in the Saki Bar Pride days. It's like these are the guys that built the sport, right? They were the golden era of MMA, and it was a much different business back then, much different economics, but they were in there grinding it out, man, every day and doing their thing. So I think Fedor appreciated a lot of those guys he fought, a lot of those guys he should have fought. It didn't happen because of different leagues and things like that, but. It was a special. This will be a special moment, as far as hopefully in the Bellator flag, and also for me personally.
Hey, Scott, back here. You kind of just touched on it, I think, but you've done a lot of unique, kind of special things since becoming the Bellator president and everything. Like, we look at the featherweight Grand Prix and the draw you did, kind of going back to the glory days and everything, and then this big kind of celebration of Fedor's career at the end of the fight. Like, I'm just curious, like, why is it important for you to do these kind of more, I guess, out of the norm, types of things, and give respect in these ways?
I'll tell you, I think just growing up in a martial arts school, and learning really the international fight promotion business, working for K1. going to the Pride fights, just seeing the history there and basically watching the history of MMA unfold since Royce fought in '93. That's 30 years ago. It's not a new sport. It's not an old sport. This is still a very new sport. So I think there has to be some history and tradition to continue. And when I started getting calls from the first person that called me, he actually didn't make it. First person that called me was Mirko Krokop. Said I would like to come to Fedor's fight and I'd like to bring flowers and pay my respect to him. And I said, come on out. It didn't work out. He was busy and things happened and whatever. But then I got a call from Randy and I got a call and I called Chuck and Frank said he's coming. I said, you know what? We got to make this a special moment in time. And I think, a ceremonial tribute. It's like a ceremonial tribute to Fedor, laying down his gloves, that moment of retirement, forever. And, to look back and it's just amazing. And it was emotional time for a lot of people, including myself in there. It was a magic moment, in my career.
Hey, Scott. Scott Coker over here.
Mm-hmm.
How you doing, sir? I had the pleasure of speaking to Chael Sonnen yesterday at the press conference. He told me that he has never disagreed with Scott Coker once until yesterday when you said that this lightweight Grand Prix is going to be the best lightweight tournament, the biggest lightweight tournament in MMA history. He believes that it's going to be the biggest tournament, period, in MMA history. Would you like to update your statement?
Yeah, you know what? He told me, listen, when Chael talks, you got to listen. Otherwise, he's just going to keep talking. So, no, I'm joking. But, I love Chael, and he's been such a great, friend and colleague. But he said to me, Coker, this is the toughest lightweight tournament in the history of MMA that you're putting together. And he said, I think there's 3 dark horses here. Gotta love Bert, man. Gotta love Bert. I love Bert, man. But, Chael's the one that told me, and I said, that's interesting because he calls it the toughest. I said it was like the best or the greatest tournament of lightweights ever. But, however you want to label it, it's going to be a great, great event for the year for us. It's going to be all kicks off March 10th in San Jose on Showtime. So we got some great fights. I'm really looking forward to it, even just as a fan, to sit there and watch these fights. These guys are amazing athletes. They deserve all the respect. And it's going to be something that we're going to have a lot of fun with.
Where do you rank Bert Washington among the top free agent acquisitions?
Let me tell you, I'll just tell you a story about this real quick. I know Danny's giving me the dirty look right here. Get off the mic, Coker. But there was a time in the company, and we were doing fights in a closed environment, right? So at the Mohegan Sun. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching our team work and the operations team. And I've known Bert for a while. We've talked and we could never just really get on the same page and, and work something out. But I've always loved him because I just love his energy and he's like a bolt of lightning, And so I was sitting there in the Mohegan Sun and I'm going, this is really like a moment in time that is not good because fighters are fighting where there's no audience, right? Fighters need the fans, right? Fans need the sport, right? Fans need to be there live too. And I said, this is not good. I need something to pump these guys up. And I said, let me think about it. I started thinking about like what I could do. And then my phone rang, right? I look over and it was Bert. I said, this is the guy. This is the guy. This happened for a reason, right? So I say, Bert, you're an angel because I need you to come to the Mohegan Sun next week. We want to make a deal with you. I need you to fire these guys up, and I need you to, because really it was like a fighting in a spiritless venue because there's nobody there, right? And you have some great fights. I mean, you have MVP fighting, you have Bader fighting Nemkov in a closing. There's nobody there. There's like 10 people besides officials. So that's how we made a deal. And I said, man, Bert, you got to come. I need your electricity and your spirit, and we gotta jolt these guys. And they didn't know he was coming. No one knew. And so he showed up, and he's got those guys fired up, and we've been working ever since. So that's my story with Bert.